Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, broadcasting on Channels Television live from Lagos. Latter Rain Assembly and convener of the Save Nigeria group, Tunde Bakare, has outlined the roadmap to a new Nigeria. He believes Nigeria's problems are not as a result of global economic cycles, but the consequence of counterproductive national paradigms and self-limiting frameworks of states. Pastor Bakare, who was a guest speaker at the Business Hallmark Public Forum, says the national challenges are systemic, which requires institutional reforms and constitutional amendments. Our correspondent, Victoria Idowu, reports.
This is a gathering of young Nigerians here at this public policy forum organized by Business Hallmark to make a case for a new Nigeria. According to the speakers at this forum, some questions must be answered to create a new path for the nation.
18 months ago, 2 years ago, in the international media, Nigeria was being touted as one of the fastest growing emerging markets. The latest figures suggest that the foreign investment coming is less than 700 million now. How did this happen? Is it possible that this kind of change can take place in 24 short months?
According to the guest speaker, 3 factors combine to produce political stability.
The type of constitution, number 2, the form of government, and number 3, the caliber and character of political leaders in and outside of government. Integrity is not enough to run a nation. Nigeria must be born again.
He adds that the solution to our problems is setting up a presidential commission for national reconciliation, reintegration and restructuring that will adopt a new constitution.
This commission should be mandated to work closely with the stakeholders and power blocks as well as legislative houses to create a new national identity for the Nigerian people, facilitate the creation of an acceptable functional governmental structure for Nigeria, and midway a process of constitutional rebirth that will culminate in a referendum by which the people will adopt a new constitution.
All said, Pastor Bakare is hopeful that President Buhari can leave a legacy and his name etched on the pages of history as the president that facilitated the emergence of the new Nigeria. But that is if he sets his priorities and strategies right. Victoria Idowu, reporting for Channels Television News.
The Borno state government is seeking partnership with humanitarian organizations in a post-war phase of a counter-insurgency battle. Governor Kashim Shettima has been speaking with officials of the United Nations Humanitarian Affairs as well as the Netherlands Embassy, who are both interested in supporting Nigeria.
The recapture of communities held by insurgents in Borno state has turned the focus of government and donor agencies towards the rehabilitation of these territories. To this end, the United Nations humanitarian officials and the Netherlands ambassador are here to meet with the state government to discuss ways of assisting the people. The UN Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs, Stephen O'Brien, says there is the need for coordinated approach towards empowering the local people.
Over the years, I'm well aware that northeast Nigeria, yes, but equally the countries that are beyond the border here, close by, we are dealing with the compound effects of what the conflict with Boko Haram has brought about.
After the talks, the team heads to Dalori Federal Training Center at Bama IDP camp to check on the patients. Next is the inspection of areas destroyed by the insurgents, and the Netherlands ambassador to Nigeria promises to help rebuild the state.
Why I'm here is to get impressions of the level of devastation in this part of the country, and also to be able to explain to my minister, to the ministries in the Netherlands, what the status is and the needs are for rebuilding this part of Nigeria.
While food and other relief materials are still required for the IDPs, the state governor says creating jobs for the people is the only solution to insurgency.
We cannot afford to engage in an endless war of attrition by insisting that the Boko Haram will be defeated militarily. No, it goes beyond that. Because the real cause of this insurgency, Your Excellency, sir, is extreme poverty. Once we create jobs, once we engage the youth, this madness will evaporate.
Nearly 2 million people are said to have been sacked from their homes by the insurgents, with many women and girls kidnapped. The state government says efforts are being intensified to enable the displaced people vacate camps and return home.
Against the backdrop of the controversy surrounding the identity of the girl, Sarah Luka, said to have been rescued from Sambisa Forest on Thursday, the army is insisting that the girl is one of the Chibok students abducted by Boko Haram in 2014. The announcement of the rescue had generated debate, with some insisting the army's claim, saying Sarah Luka is not one of the names on the list of the abducted girls. But in a telephone interview with Channels Television, the acting director, Army Public Relations, Colonel Sani Usman, said the army carried out thorough investigations, including consultation with the authorities at the government secondary school in Chibok, before announcing the rescue of Sarah.
I'm quite aware some group of persons, they are trying to dispute what we, the fact is they were in respect of the rescued girl Sarah Luka, about where she comes from, where she was actually when the abduction took place. But the truth is that before we informed the public about it, we carried out a thorough check, and there was also a confirmatory check in respect of her true identity and what she told us. The fact remains that she was abducted at Government Secondary School, Chibok, and of course she came from Madagali in Adamawa State. That fact remains the way it is, and for anybody to constitute himself as an authority over that, it is rather unfortunate. And the military have been, sacrificing, have been working hard round the clock to make sure that the remnants of Boko Haram terrorists have been, flushed out and cleared out of Sambisa Forest. Hence, we established a special operations coordinated Operation Crackdown. The essence of that operation basically is one, to clear the Boko Haram terrorists in Sambisa Forest and rescue all other persons the terrorists are holding hostage. That operation was embarked upon based on credible information that yes, we suspected the Boko Haram terrorists were holding some of the abducted Chibok schoolgirls within that forest. And that effort is fair to right evidence. And for anybody, so all this well not recognize that fact, then it is really sad and unfortunate. I have told you in unmistakable terms that we did our check. So it's immaterial whom we checked with. The fact that somebody who is an internally displaced person, who is over 500 or 700 kilometers away from whom, who has lost touch with the society, will constitute an authority, is very unfortunate.
The acting director, Army Public Relations, Colonel Sani Usman, speak to us earlier in the day. But we're talking more about this particular story now. I'm being joined on the news at 10 by a security consultant who's also a retired colonel, Yomi Dari. Thank you so much for joining me on the news at 10.
Thank you, Harriet, for having me on board.
So, 2 girls now have been rescued, and there's been so much controversy about the second girl, Sarah Luka, about her not being one of the girls abducted from the Chibok Secondary School. But does that really matter?
Honestly, Harriet, I think this is just a distraction I think what Nigerians should be more interested in at this moment is that there's a rescue and a human being has been rescued. We must not forget the fact that as we speak, the military has rescued close to 12,000 abducted human beings. And of course, we all know that the issue of the Chibok girls has been given so much publicity. Yes, we all feel it because any one of them could be our words, our own child. But notwithstanding, the fact that a human being has been rescued, I think is worth commending the efforts of the military. I do not subscribe to, how can, and come to think of it, the military did its due diligence because consultations have been made. At the end of the day, we started hearing that, she's not from Chibok, or she's from Madagali in Adamawa State. But the point is, she is from the government secondary school, Chibok. That is the point.
But Colonel, the rescue of the two girls happened within 3 days. Does this say something about the military strategy, this results that we're getting now?
I want to believe so. Because, as you heard the acting director of public relations did say a few minutes ago, that, initially, when the present crop of military or the service chiefs were appointed, and I think the Chief of Army Staff, he declared the operation in the northeast as Lafia Dole. And that is, to flush out the insurgents there. Now, there's a new operation codenamed Operation Crackdown. I think that's specifically targeted towards the Sambisa forest. That is, to flush out the insurgents from that forest. And I believe that has started yielding some results. And aside that, I believe also that with the new equipments acquired by the military, I think we must be getting some results. So hopefully in the coming days, we should be getting results of more rescues, especially the Chibok girls, because according to intelligence, they are in that forest.
So apart from getting more of those girls rescued and other hostages that this sect has abducted, what about the strategy to finally win the war against insurgents?
Well, I think what the military is doing right now is to maintain what you call momentum. To maintain momentum, to keep the spirit up. And of course, I think the military commanders, the Chief of Army Staff, the Chief of Air Staff, they are doing a lot in that regard. Because you find out that the military has set up additional military formations. They have task forces set up. And of course, the Air Force too, they are giving them close support, air support. The Chief of Air Staff is visiting the men at the front line, and so also is the Chief of Army Staff, regardless of the fact that they also have commanders commanding, that is general officers commanding the 7th and the 8th divisions of the Nigerian Army right there in the northeast. But then, even the service chiefs themselves are there, unlike probably what you have in the past, when they sit back in their comfort zone, maybe in Abuja, in their headquarters, and then expecting to give orders. But right now, they are there, and I think that is yielding some results, because when the men look back and see their commanders, I'm sure they will be forced to go ahead.
In trying to win this war, there have been cases of unlawful killings by the military. We've had some, international organizations giving us reports about that. And then we want these girls to be rescued, and we want this war to be won. But then, at what price? At what cost? Should the military now take the kid's glove off and face civilians just because their men are being decimated, because they're losing their brothers in arms, and so they feel that they have to retaliate?
Well, I do not subscribe to that, because every military man knows that he has signed in, and at the end of the day, he or she might lose the life. So when you have a war situation, there's what you call unintended consequences. Whether you like it or not, there must be collateral damage, and this is just part of it. So I've read about Amnesty International and some other organizations sending reports that the military is taking every day. I mean, the military, they are also human beings. It's just because they don't publish their casualties. The military suffer a lot of casualty, you know, both in terms of men and material. So I don't think it would be fair to assert that they are taking it out on the civilians. I don't think so. Colonel, I think what is most important at this point in time is for us to stand up and commend the efforts of the military, you know, and let's not also forget, especially as regards the operation in the Northeast, the Civilian Joint Task Force is also working very, very hard. You know, they are working, they are cooperating. So there's a lot of synergy going on, and I think that is good for us.
Colonel Yomi Dari, thank you so much for coming on the news at 10.
Thank you very much, Harriet. I appreciate it.
When the news at 10 returns, governments of the south-south states of Bayelsa and Delta decry activities of pipeline vandals. Join us again.